let's get back to the story. So you started individual sessions with me, and then how did that help you be more vulnerable over time?
Yeah, that helped a lot. One of the first things we started was on strategies. And for me, an important thing was being able to eat with my hands because I just, like, my mind would say, that's not safe. I'm going to get sick. So I'd use a fork or I'd use gloves or I'd come up with some way to eat that did not have me touching whatever I was going to eat. And we came up with strategies to do that, and I was able to get through that. And then we were able to get through some other OCD contents. Um,
Hold on, that
and like,
must have been, I know that that was really painful for you. Can
I,
you say more about what was most painful about not being able to eat with your hands?
I think, and this is the reason why I feel like I went to therapy in the first place, is there's a lot of things that I wanted to do that I just could not. And like, it seems very easy to pick up a piece of fruit and put it in your mouth. Like that act is very easy, and I can do it now. But I couldn't understand why I couldn't do it then.
Hmm. Now, can you understand why it was hard then?
More so, I don't think I have the full picture, but basically, I think it comes down to I just wanted to avoid feeling sick and avoid the feelings that come up with like actually doing the action. Because like when I would eat with my hands back then there's all this rumination afterwards about what might happen, or there might be anticipatory anxiety if I know I'm going to do it. Like I'm trying to do exposure with it. There's going to be a lot of like anticipatory anxiety towards it. I just wanted to avoid all that negativity.
Yeah, so the anticipatory anxiety was painful. Probably the during the situation and the exposure, you were uncomfortable, you were tense and anxious, and then
Right,
afterwards, you probably felt uncertain too. So afterwards, the rumination was an attempt to manage the uncertainty that you felt.
right, definitely.
Okay, and why did you ultimately decide to do that full exposure?
Because I wanted to be able to like make decisions that, like, if I wanted to eat a plum that day, like I wanted to be able to do that thing. And that applied to like other parts of my OCD and anxiety. Like there's things that I've wanted to do and I can't. I don't always fully understand why I can't. Like, I understand it better now, but it's very hard.
Hmm. Are you willing to talk about more OCD content areas that
Yeah.
required strategies?
Yeah. So even like doing this podcast, when you first mentioned it, it sounded very interesting. Um, but it also sounded scary, like the vulnerability thing of like other people are going to hear this and judge what I say, like my story. But I knew it was something I wanted to do because it sounded interesting to me and cool, and I wanted to try it out. So this is another like area that I'm exploring a little bit.
Great. Can you tell me what judgment you fear, especially because you're de-identified, but just in general, as you say your story, what judgments are you fearing?
I think like the weirdo stuff. Like there's some people that just they might have their own ideas about mental health, and like that person just sounds strange, um, or even somebody that maybe they're struggling with OCD, and so like that kind of hearing somebody else talk about OCD might trigger them. They just could come in a variety of ways.
Yeah, those are great examples because one of them is social anxiety. Like, what if someone just judges me and thinks that I'm weird? And then that is painful in and of itself. The other one is harm. So, what if I harm someone by what I say, and I can't, um, I don't have certainty about that, or I can't control that they're not going to be harmed. Does that resonate with you?
Yes.
Okay. And are you feeling those fears right now as you're talking?
No, but I was feeling them right before we started.
Okay. Were you able to label that as anticipatory anxiety?
Yes.
Okay. And then what'd you do to help yourself manage the anticipatory anxiety?
Well, I've been doing the feedback loop, like why things are sticky to me. Like the reason this is sticky is the vulnerability. Like I was thinking about why I'm struggling, and like being judged is definitely one of them. I think fearing I'm going to make a mistake on what I'm going to say is another thing that happens for me. I've had to like reduce my level of expectations and like accept that I'm gonna make a mistake in what I say or forget something that I wanted to say. Um,
What makes you willing to accept that?
well, I've had success with it. Like the reason I've been able to talk to more people and like put myself in situations that I wanted to be in is because that's how I've approached it and it's worked for me. So I've been able to like go towards it more.
A lot of people think perfectionistically about social situations or work or romantic relationships. Like they want to be perfect in those kind of settings. When you say you dropped your standard, can you tell me what you mean by that?
Yeah, like I'm sure I've made mistakes in what I've said prior to what I'm saying now. Like I'm sure that's happened. So I've had to like work on accepting that that's gonna happen. Like even now I'm forgetting some of the stuff I want to say and I have to like accept that that's happening so that I can kind of refocus and stay where I'm at.
Yes, that's great. Can you tell in this moment that that's also your own mind's perception? So, like, your mind has a perception of what it would mean to be perfect, and then the thing that you have to accept is that you might not say exactly what your mind is saying that you should.
Right. Yes.
But also, can you um, accept that what you're saying now is also a suitable answer?
Yes. Because there is no perfect answer, right? Like what would be perfect? I don't even know what that is.
Great. How'd you get to the point that you believe that?
I listened to the podcast like a while back and he was talking about how we don't know what's coming forward and like that I felt could apply to other parts. And like that could definitely apply to what is being said.
Yeah, you're specifically talking about the episode in the consultation with Dr. Jerome.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. Can you say more about what stood out about that conversation?
Yeah. It was talking about whether or not you can be a good person. And like I put so much energy into like trying to be a good person. What would a good person do? And like you said, well, if you start trying to define that and like bring that out, like there's gonna be things I do that are not good, things that I do that are okay, and like somebody else's eyes, that could be really horrible. So it's kind of impossible to define that. So you just gotta like accept that that's not gonna be something you can fully define, and just so then I shift to like what else, and then for me that what else is what am I about personally.